Let's talk about what happened in Miami, or more specifically, what didn't happen, because the Browns had the Dolphins cooked. This game was in the bag by the start of the fourth quarter, and with the scoreboard basically screaming run out the clock, every fan, every analyst, and probably even equipment guys were thinking the same thing. We're finally going to see Shedeur Sanders take the field. But nope. Kevin Stefanski said, not today. No garbage time snaps. No handoffs. No feel-good rookie debut in a low-stakes moment. Just Dillon Gabriel, a steady, unspectacular third-rounder, trotting out for yet another drive like it was the Super Bowl. And that silence, that absence, that snub, it spoke volumes. This wasn't just a missed opportunity. This was a choice. A very deliberate, very public choice by Kevin Stefanski to keep his highly touted, heavily hyped rookie quarterback off the field when there was absolutely no reason not to play him. And Browns fans, they're not having it. Because let's be real, the Browns didn't just draft Shedeur Sanders for depth. They drafted him to be the future. To be the face of a franchise that has spent the last 2 decades cycling through quarterbacks like expired coupons. And when you finally get a guy who might actually be different, you don't leave him holding a clipboard in a blowout win. You let him play. You need him to play. This isn't preseason anymore. These are the reps that matter. The ones where he can make mistakes, build confidence, and get his feet wet before the real pressure kicks in. And Stefanski just straight up refused. So now the question is, why? Why, in a game that was all but wrapped up, did Stefanski go out of his way to keep Shedeur on the bench? Is he protecting him? From what? A crowd that was already chanting his name. Is he trying to send a message? If so, what kind of message are you sending to your rookie QB, your fans, and your entire locker room by benching the one guy everyone came to see? Because the optics here are brutal. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Shedeur Sanders didn't come into the league as just another rookie. He arrived with a spotlight the size of Texas. The son of Dion, the face of a college football media storm. The guy who turned Colorado into must-watch TV. And whether you love it or hate it, that aura followed him to the NFL. He came in with swagger, poise, and sky-high expectations. And so far, the Browns haven't done a thing with him. From training camp to week 6, it's been a holding pattern. He's practicing. He's dressed. He's supposedly in the mix. But every time there's a chance to put him in, even just for a taste, Stefanski slams the door. And now people are starting to wonder, is this a coaching philosophy issue? Or is it something deeper? Because Dillon Gabriel isn't playing lights out. He's not demanding the spotlight. He's a stopgap, and everyone knows it. Even he probably knows it. So what's Stefanski really afraid of? Here's a theory. Maybe he's afraid that Shedeur will look too good. Maybe he's afraid that one solid drive, one flash of brilliance, one glimpse of that Sanders star power, and boom, the narrative flips. The fans want more. The media dials in. The front office starts asking questions. Maybe Stefanski likes the status quo. Maybe he feels safer with a game manager like Gabriel than with a wild card like Shedeur. But you know what? That's not leadership. That's fear. And fear has no place in the quarterback room. You don't draft a guy like Shedeur if you're not ready to embrace everything that comes with him. The spotlight, the scrutiny, the expectations. That's part of the package. And if Stefanski can't handle that, then why is he even here? Let's not forget, this is a head coach who's already on shaky ground. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. The fans have been lukewarm for a while now. His game management gets side-eyed almost weekly. His conservative play calling has become a punchline. And now he's benching the most exciting player on the roster during garbage time? That's how you lose a fan base. That's how you lose a locker room. Because don't think for a second that players didn't notice. Don't think the veterans didn't look over and wonder, why is the kid not in yet? Don't think the offensive linemen didn't want to block for him just to see what he's got. Don't think the receivers weren't itching for a chance to catch passes from the guy with all the upside. This isn't just about Shedeur. This is about trust. And when your coach makes a decision that nobody understands, not the fans, not the analysts, not the players, you start to lose that trust. And let's talk about Shedeur for a second. How do you think this looks to him? You're drafted to a team that says you're part of the future. You do the work. You stay humble. You're locked in, dialed in, waiting for your shot. And then the game script hands you a perfect opportunity. Zero pressure, big lead, crowd on your side, and they leave you on the bench. That's deflating. That's insulting. And worst of all, that's discouraging. You think Shedeur's not questioning the plan right now? Because he is. And if this continues, if he keeps getting snubbed while the team pretends there's some long-term strategy, don't be surprised if we start seeing cracks. Subtle things, the body language, the interviews, maybe even a cryptic social media post or two. It doesn't take much. And that's when the PR nightmare begins. Because now you've got a potential franchise QB who doesn't feel trusted, a fan base that's turning on the coach, and a team that's caught in the middle of the storm they created. It's avoidable. It was always avoidable. All Stefanski had to do was give the kid a few snaps. Literally just 2 or 3 clean drives. Let him get hit. Let him complete a pass. Let him feel the NFL. That's how you start a foundation. That's how you build something. Instead, they left him on the sideline, untouched and used like a decorative trophy. And let's not pretend this is just a one-game thing. This is a pattern now. We've seen it with this regime before, hesitating with young talent, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes, playing it safe until the opportunity passes them by. And then what happens? The media turns. The locker room turns. The fans tune out. And another promising Browns quarterback becomes a cautionary tale. Shedeur Sanders deserves better than that. Cleveland deserves better than that. So what happens now? Does Stefanski finally course correct and give Shedeur some action in next week's game? Or does he double down on his own narrative, hoping things don't spiral out of control? Because one more snub like this and it will spiral. One more week of silence and the pressure cooker explodes. And when that happens, it won't be about development anymore. It'll be about damage control. So to the Browns coaching staff, front office, whoever's listening, wake up. You've got a young, talented quarterback with star potential sitting on your sideline. He's healthy. He's ready. He's waiting. You don't have to make him the starter tomorrow. You don't have to crown him king. But for the love of football, let him play. Let him throw the ball. Let him scramble. Let him learn. Because every game you keep him on ice, you're wasting time, valuable time, development time, culture building time, fan building time. And in the NFL, time is a currency you can't afford to burn. So do the right thing. Give Shedeur his shot. Not next season. Not when it's too late. Not when desperation forces your hand. This wasn't just a Stefanski problem. This kind of organizational hesitation doesn't happen in a vacuum. There are too many cooks in the Cleveland kitchen, and now they're all pretending no one turned the burner on. You don't draft Shedeur Sanders without having an internal conversation, a serious one, about how soon you're willing to use him. The fanfare, the expectations, the coverage. You don't bring that into your building unless you're prepared to unleash it. But here we are, week after week. Shedeur is being treated like some backup tight end who's still learning the playbook. And execs? Silent. Radio silent. No press leaks. No clarity. No vote of confidence. Just vague coach speak in a weird, foggy roadmap to nowhere. And here's where it gets even messier. If Stefanski wasn't the one who wanted Shedeur, then that tells us something dangerous. That this team is fundamentally not on the same page. We're talking about the most important position in sports. If the GM, head coach, and ownership can't agree on what to do with the franchise quarterback, then what are they doing? You can feel the disconnect in every press conference. The front office acts like Shedeur is a shiny future investment. Stefanski treats him like a third stringer. And in the middle of it all, a 21-year-old QB with a rocket arm and a famous name, just waiting for anyone, to believe in him. That's dysfunction 101. And Cleveland? Cleveland has lived this before. Too many times. This is how quarterback development gets derailed. Not because of talent. Not because of injury. But because of internal ego wars. because of power struggles, because someone in the building wants to win their way instead of just winning. And the fans? They're not stupid. They've seen this exact movie play out before, with Baker Mayfield, with Johnny Manziel, with Brandon Whedon, with Colt McCoy, with Deshaun Kaiser. Do we need to go on? And here we are again. Another quarterback, another tug of war, another coach clinging to his guy like it's a security blanket. But let's be real, Stefanski's guy isn't the future. Dylan Gabriel, while solid, is not changing trajectory of this franchise. He's not keeping defensive coordinators up at night. He's not selling jerseys. He's not lighting a spark under the fan base. He's just, okay. And the Browns have been drowning in okay for years. That's why people were excited about Shedeur in the first place. Because finally they thought, here's something different. Here's someone with presence, swagger, star power, a guy who wants a moment. And now that momentum is fizzling. Not because Shedeur failed, because he was never even given a chance. Let's look at another angle. What's this doing to the locker room dynamic? People underestimate how much quarterbacks influence every inch of a football team. It's not just who throws the best spiral. It's about leadership, energy, command. When you draft a high-profile QB and then refuse to play him, players start to feel it. They start wondering who the real leader is. They wonder if the organization even has a plan. You think the wide receivers don't notice which QB throws with more confidence in practice? You think the offensive linemen don't pay attention to who's got the louder voice in the huddle? Trust me, they notice. And when the players start feeling like the coaching staff is dragging their feet with talent, that seeps into performance. It starts as quiet grumbling. Then it shows up in body language. Then in effort. And soon, you got a fractured room. And fractured rooms don't win in the NFL. They implode. Slowly. Ugly. But here's the thing. This doesn't have to end in disaster. There's still a lane to fix it. If Stefanski were smart, he'd get out ahead of this. Take ownership. Say, you know what? That was my mistake. I should have gotten Shedeur some reps. And I'll make sure we get him into the game plan moving forward. Boom. Crisis calmed. Fans cool off. The media moves on. But if he doubles down again, if he runs out Gabriel for 4 quarters in another blowout, if Shedeur goes another game without a single snap, forget it. The backlash will be relentless. Because this isn't just about football anymore. This is about faith. The fan base is trying to believe in a vision. To believe this isn't just another round of the same old Browns chaos. But when the coaching decisions don't line up with the long-term plan, that belief cracks. And in Cleveland, it doesn't take much to break. Let's throw in one more perspective. The media. You think national sports talk shows haven't already drafted their "Why aren't the Browns playing Shedeur" segments? They're circling. The second this story gets picked up on a Monday morning debate table, it becomes national narrative. And at that point, it's out of Stefanski's hands. You can't hide a quarterback controversy in 2025. Not when your rookie has millions of Instagram followers. Not when his dad is literally Deion Sanders. Not when you've got every NFL Red Zone viewer wondering the same thing. The questions are coming. And the longer Stefanski avoid the issue, the louder they'll get. So what happens if Shedeur does get in next week? Well, now he's stepping into a pressure cooker. Because the story won't be, let's see what the rookie can do. It'll be, finally, he better be great. And that's unfair. Because all Shedeur needed, all he ever needed was a soft launch. A moment to grow. A few snaps with the training wheels still on. Instead, he's being set up to save a narrative that should have never needed saving. And if he struggles, if he throws a pick, if he looks raw, which he might, now at sea, he wasn't ready. Even though he never got the chance to prepare properly, it's a lose-lose. And Stefanski built that scenario with his own hands. So, where do we go from here? If the Browns want to regain control of the narrative, here's what needs to happen. Fast. Transparency. The coaching staff needs to clearly communicate their vision for Shedeur. No more vague, he's coming along. Be real. Action. Put him in, not to save a game. Not in crisis. Put him in because he belongs in the plan. Show that you're not afraid of the future. Support, build the playbook to his strengths. Give him easy throws. Give him tempo. Give him the freedom to move. Don't stick him in the same static schemes that Gabriel runs. Ownership. If this gets ugly, Stefanski needs to wear it. Publicly. Privately. Period. Because the longer this drags on, the more damage it does. To Shedeur, to the locker room, to the fan base, to the Browns' already shaky rep as a quarterback graveyard. And if it goes totally off the rails, it won't be Shedeur who takes the fall. It'll be Kevin Stefanski. Because history doesn't remember the coaches who protected their rookies. It remembers the ones who unleashed them. So to the Browns, stop sitting on the future. It's right there. He's ready. And every second you wait, you're just proving to the world that you still don't know how to handle a quarterback with real potential. And Cleveland? Cleveland deserves better than that. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts below. Is Stefanski overthinking it? Should Shedeur be QB1 already? And how long until we start hearing Deion Sanders publicly call out the Browns for mismanaging his son? Hit that subscribe button. Because in Cleveland, the quarterback carousel never stops spinning. But maybe, just maybe, we're one decision away from stepping off the ride. Or one snub away from crashing all over again. Now it's about trust. Trust between coach and quarterback. Between front office and locker room. Between the team and the fan base. And right now, that trust is fraying like an old jersey. So let's peel back another layer. Because this whole situation exposes a fundamental issue with the Browns. They have no consistent quarterback philosophy. Let's go back, not far, just a few years. Baker Mayfield, Heisman winner, first overall pick, full of fire, swagger, and more commercials than playoff wins. The Browns backed him until they didn't. Then came the Deshaun Watson debacle, the contract, the controversy, the chaos. Then it was Jacoby Brissett. Then a rotation of temporary solutions. Now, Dillon Gabriel is keeping the seat warm, while Shedeur Sanders watches from the sidelines. Tell me, what's the plan? Because from the outside, it just looks like panic disguised as patience. And that inconsistency, that organizational confusion, is what derails promising careers. It creates an environment where no quarterback, rookie or vet, feels truly secure. Everyone's looking over their shoulder. Everyone's wondering what tomorrow holds. And you can't build a winning team on that kind of shaky foundation. But with Shedeur, it feels different. Or at least it should. Because Shedeur doesn't just represent another young arm to mold. He represents a shift, a new identity, a rebrand of the Browns as something more than a meme. He's got the poise, the legacy, the media presence. And the Browns could have used all of that, not just on the field, but in the locker room, in the city, in the culture. But by sidelining him with no explanation, they're delaying that transformation. And fans are left wondering, are we really just going to let another potential star rot on the bench while we run the same tired offense with a placeholder quarterback? Let's also talk about the clock, the one nobody mentions, but everyone feels. NFL windows are brutally short. Teams go from on the rise to rebuilding in the blink of an interception. And when you have a rookie QB on a rookie contract, that's your golden window. That's when you stack talent. That's when you take risks. That's when you build around your guy and try to make a run while you still can afford to do it. But the Browns? They're wasting that time. Every game that passes without Shedeur getting meaningful reps is time you're not developing him. Time you're not building chemistry. Time you're not figuring out who he is in real game situations. And the longer that goes on, the more you're putting your future on pause. For what exactly? A few more drives from Dillon Gabriel? Let's not pretend like Shedeur is some high-risk, raw project who can't read a defense. The guy ran a pro-style offense under Deion. He had to carry Colorado under the brightest lights college football had seen in years. He's calm in the pocket, accurate on the move, and smarter than people give him credit for. This is not a player you hide. This is a player you show off. Because here's the hidden benefit no one's talking about. Even if Shedeur isn't a long-term answer, even if he's just good, not great, the perception of him matters. If he plays and plays decently, suddenly his value goes up. Suddenly you have options. You can trade him, develop him, build around him, do something. But if he sits, that value stagnates. Teams start wondering what's wrong. Scouts start picking him apart in practice film. The shine wears off. In the NFL, reputation is currency. And right now, the Browns are letting Shedeur collect dust in a drawer. And what happens if Shedeur decides he's had enough? Because, yes, that's a real possibility. He's not some quiet, humble unknown, just happy to be here. He knows his worth. He knows his story. He knows the media wants him. If things don't improve, he can go public. Carefully, of course. Through sources. Through agents. Through vague but pointed quotes. Just trusting the process. I'm focused on staying ready. We're staying patient for now. We've seen this movie before. And it doesn't end with sunshine and Gatorade showers. It ends with tension. It ends with headlines. It ends with regret. The Browns can still avoid that, but only if they act now. Let's zoom out one last time. This isn't just a football decision. This is a moment for the franchise, for Stefanski, and for Shedeur. A moment to prove that Cleveland is evolving. That they're not just stuck in the past, reliving the same quarterback heartbreak over and over again. That they can take a leap of faith when the path is clear. Because here's what makes this so frustrating. The path is clear. This wasn't a game against the Chiefs. It wasn't a one-score nail-biter. It wasn't a playoff deciding battle. It was the Dolphins. The game was over. The only thing left to win was momentum, and the Browns passed on it. They didn't just bench Shedeur. They benched the future. They benched belief. They benched the very thing this city has been starving for, a reason to feel something. So where does this end? That's up to Kevin Stefanski. If he continues playing it safe, if he keeps dancing around the issue, then he'll have nobody to blame but himself when the fans turn, the locker room whispers, and the pressure mounts. But if he gets it, if he finally lets Shedeur loose, even in small doses, even in scripted moments, then maybe, just maybe, he can stop the bleeding before it becomes a full-blown collapse. Because there's still time. There's still hope. But if Stefanski isn't careful, that hope is going to slip through his fingers, and he'll be remembered not as the guy who developed a star, but as the guy who never let one shine. Let us know your take in the comments. Is Stefanski protecting Shedeur or sabotaging him? How would you handle the quarterback situation if you were running the Browns? And how many more games like this can fans stomach before the mood turns from anxious to angry? Be sure to subscribe for more breakdowns, drama, and brutally honest football takes. Because this saga, it's just getting started. And in Cleveland, the quarterback carousel never stops spinning.